Attention, citizens. It's time for Super Pulp Science.
This is Super Pulp Science, where we talk about how genre gets made. I am Gregory Kamichak, writer and illustrator. My long-suffering co-host, Justin Curry, known the world over as Chasing Artwork, is currently, he just messaged me, stuck outside, it says. So needs to be let in the building. So I am going to be right back before I introduce my next guest. Perfect.
How's that for timing?
That's amazing. I'm just going to pause. Justin, once stuck outside, is here for the introduction of none other than Jason Sylvestre, cartoonist and all-around patient fellow. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
You're welcome. So Justin, let's just get right down to it. Where the hell were you? You're late.
I hope I didn't miss too much. Yeah, no, we've been doing podcasts all day. I think this is our sixth or seventh podcast.
I don't know. I lost track.
Yeah, so I have a younger dog at home that's not used to being alone this long without a couple runs and walks throughout the day. So I just ran home, ran the dog, and now I'm back for Super Pulp Science nights.
This is also, Jason, you're here for our very first Super Pulp Science event. Now, I myself am not an imbiber of such beverages, but Justin said, this is after hours, right? Does that mean I can have a beer? And so I guess we'll leave it to the guests to have the final authority.
I say go at it.
All right.
I listen to a lot of podcasts in all kinds of different genres, like video game making and comic making and all kinds. And they're always drinking during their podcasts.
They're not professionals like me. That's why.
I guess like most people do their podcasts in the evening. We always do ours during the day. So it's never been appropriate to have 11 a.m.
11
beers.
beers.
But I've always wanted to have a beer on the podcast. So this is the very first Super Pulp Science beer.
That's a low-key insult. What he's saying, Jason, is he always wished he could be a little
drunker
to hang out with me. Now, for the dear listeners just joining us for our very first episode, maybe this is the first episode you ever heard, what we do is Justin and I are writers and illustrators. We make books, comics, we use words and pictures to make stuff, and we love talking to other people who do that kind of stuff. So I reached out on a private Facebook group for Canadian comic creators. And I said, is anyone brave enough to come on our podcast marathon day, where we're going to record a whole bunch of episodes together? And Jason was one of those brave people to enter the octagon here. Why don't you, for a person that doesn't know,
scare me away.
Yeah, that doesn't know anything about what you do, why don't you just describe yourself and your typical workday as a cartoonist?
Can you also describe the wall behind you?
Absolutely.
Because it looks amazing.
This is audio only.
I know, but for the listener and more for me, not as much for the listener.
Yeah. Because my studio space is in my home, I filled my studio up with the things that inspire me, stuff that I can, when you have those moments where you're just tired and you're trying to push through that deadline to get the thing done. So sometimes you just need visual excitement. So behind me, I've got Ninja Turtles, G.I. Joes, Star Wars stuff, and I got a whole shelf full of Minions from the Despicable Me franchise, which I bought because my daughter hated the Minions, and so I had to have as many as possible. It's just that, I like to make her life fun and interesting, including a fart gun and a talking Gru. I got a talking Gru back there. So my place is, it's the room everybody wants to hang out in, which is always good.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
And then on the other three walls, they're full of art. Magazines I've been in, books I've done, all of that sort of stuff.
So you mentioned before the show that a book that you're kind of proud of and you enjoy creating, and you've got some more in the can, is Ig the Idiot Caveman. But you also mentioned that you do freelance illustration for a number of magazines, that you have a syndicated comic strip.
Wow.
Like just that phrase right there, I think has got every cartoonist who listens to our show leaning in close to the microphone. Like they want to know now, how does that work? Why don't you tell us about your journey of it?
Well, okay. So my journey kind of started off, I mean, as everybody's, right? I was a kid. I wanted to learn how to draw. I saw Charles Schultz on TV, and he said, "You could be a cartoonist." And I was 13, and I thought, "Yes, I can." And then I pursued it for a while in my youth, and then I got married, had kids, got a responsible adult job, put all that stuff to the side. And then one day I realized I wasn't satisfied. I still had that itch to create stuff, that itch to do stuff. And so I just did it. I just started, working on things. I started off with a
Wait, don't
competition
leap
called Small
away.
Press Idol.
Don't leap away from that moment.
Hmm.
Let's get in the time machine now. Tell
Yeah,
me
for sure.
about that first drawing that brought you back, because you hadn't been drawing for a while. What is it that
Yeah, for
got it
sure.
all rolling?
I started off drawing a character for a graphic novel that I've self-published called Jason of New York City. So he's Jason from Jason and the Argonauts. And I had one of those, those goofy ideas. You're in the shower, you're just getting up, and you go, "That's brilliant. Nobody's done this. Let's do it." So I thought, wouldn't it be funny if we took Jason from ancient Greece and dumped him in modern day Manhattan? So you've got this ancient Greek hero guy running around. He doesn't speak the language, doesn't understand the customs. He doesn't get the whole modern world. Everything is new and fantastical to him, but yet he's experienced things like magic and dragons and monsters and things like that. So uh, it's a real fun world to play in. And so I started kind of with Jason. I did a drawing of him, showed it to my son, who was I think 8 or 9 at the time, and it got his seal of approval. So I was like, okay, he thinks it's cool. Why not? Right? I mean, what's the worst that can happen? I draw it, two people read it. At least I did it, and I can move on. And so I started off with that, and I started kind of writing down the very basic beginning of the story, like how does he get to be in Manhattan? How do we get to this world that we're working on? And it was pretty rough at the start because I was kind of just throwing the spaghetti at the wall, trying to figure out what it was I was trying to do, what was the story I was trying to tell. And so over the years, I've refined it and worked on it, and I'm actually in the process right now of finishing um, sort of a revamp of that story to re-release it and launch it. And I'm pretty excited about it because my art has gone. Well, you guys know, as artists, the more you do, the better you get at developing just your own style, and you stop caring about what everybody else is going to think of that page. You're happy about the little victories that you got. Oh, I didn't screw up that hand. Oh, that building looks okay. Oh, I like the way that shadow looks. And
Oh, a
so, oh,
three-quarter
that cloud looks like a
perspective.
cloud.
Three-quarter
Yeah,
perspective on a face.
I
Consistently
didn't screw up the
rendered.
skyline.
I still shudder at my
Yeah,
very first book that I made. By the time I was finishing, I had to go back and redo the first couple of pages because the style had changed so much, like such a drastic shift in
yeah.
like tone and look by the time I was completing it.
And that's just nature. That's the way you're going to develop as an artist, right? And being a freelancer, being a guy who's working on projects after project after project, you don't have the time to really sit there and agonize over every single thing you're drawing. You just have to get it done and move on to the next one. So I find that really freeing. At first, it was terrifying because you're thinking, when you see the page in print later, you're like, "Oh, I hate that page. I hate that panel. I can't believe I drew that. This is
Yeah.
gonna be the last magazine I ever get to do. They're never gonna hire me again." And then they actually do another one. So it's just natural to feel that way, I think, as you're going through things.
Woe unto you that gives the beast form. To contemplate evil is to ask evil home.
What was the path to syndication?
Yeah, very curious.
So that was a long road. I work with a humor writer named Carson, and you've probably read stuff he's done, but you have no idea he's written it because he's a ghostwriter. So he's written for a lot of syndicated strips. He's written for Pearls Before Swine. He's written for
Hmm.
PC and Pixel. He's written for Dennis the Menace. In fact, he's been fired from Dennis the Menace 2 times and banned for life twice, and still writes for them. Cartooning, it's a complicated existence. He and I ended up working on a book together called "You Might Be From Saskatchewan If." Um, he he pitched that book to a publisher. I was literally walking past his office, and I got pulled into a phone call he was having with the publisher, and I realized that they were setting a deadline for a book release. I had no idea we were doing a book. I hadn't seen a script. I hadn't seen anything. And so Carson looked at me. He's like, so I said, yes. And that's where we started. So we had that book come out, and it was an insane hit. It hit the Canadian National Bestsellers list.
Wow.
It's still in print. It was out almost 11 years ago. So so we went from that crazy phenomenon to we ended up landing Cartoons Magazine, because Carson has this real knack for pitching ideas, and so he and I've become basically a package team. So he'll pitch a story idea, he'll CC me in on the email, so I kind of know what's going on. And if a publisher is interested, then we start working on it, right? So sometimes it means I'm doing some preliminary sketches of a character that I've only read about just before I sent off the sketches. And sometimes I've had a month's heads up and I've got a whole, page or two already done and on its way to him. Um, but it's the method he's been using for, 30 years to find work for himself. And I think he's been in print for an entire 30 years. He's written for Cracked Magazine. Like, he's been all over the place.
Wow.
So he sort of takes the lead on that. And then he just knows that I'll just come in and do the art to get it to where it needs to get to. And then I have a graphic design background, so I can fill in all of all my files are basically print ready. As soon as I send them in, they're good to go. So
That huge
it makes it
thing
easier.
to have in your corner.
Yeah, big
Yeah.
advantage.
Yeah.
Big advantage.
Publishers love that when you don't have to screw around with your files and everything is perfect, as far as like the layout goes, and they don't have to worry about margins and resizing things or playing with text. It's marvelous.
So how many places is your which strip is it that's syndicated, and where can people find it? How many places
Okay.
can you find it?
So Carson and I do a strip called Reminders, Blasts from the Past, and it's for a magazine called Remind Magazine. So this is a nostalgia magazine printed by the guys that do the TV Guide. So they've got a readership of something like 22 million people for all of their published magazines.
Is that
I'm
it?
not sure if
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's a small. I'm not sure how big the readership is for Remind. It's really hard to find that kind of information on the web. I was trying to research it because you want to put that stuff on your social media, right? You're trying to present, because you're always selling yourself to the next publisher as a worker. And but I know the magazine that we're working on, it's out every month, and it's very, very popular. I was surprised at how popular it is. I had some with me when I was in the Calgary show, and they were gone before, I think, the end of Friday. I didn't have anything left on my table,
Oh, fantastic.
which surprised me. I didn't think that would be the draw, but
You never know, right? You never know.
You
what
never know.
saw at a convention. It's a
yeah,
little
you never know.
frustrating.
Yeah, I hear you there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they've been a joy to work with. It's a full color strip. And the way our contract works is Carson and I have certain rights to it, and then they have first print right. So we were able to syndicate it through their network. And yeah, they've been, like I said, they've been just awesome to work with. It's my first time working very closely with an editorial team.
I was going to
Usually as a
ask you
cartoonist.
about that.
Yeah.
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 So on the show,
Usually you're like in the void, right? You're just doing your own thing.
Yeah.
So this is a little different.
we on the show will often talk to authors who are working with editors or self-published authors who are hiring an editor. At some point, you come to realize that the editorial voice, even though it's easy to resist wanting it, is a very important necessity of getting your best work out into the world. So that was my question. In its syndication, who has that final, like, who's got final cut on your cartoon?
So the editor of the magazine that I'm working with, he has final say, but he also has an editorial staff that he pushes things through, and so they'll give us feedback on. It's usually never the art. It's usually just lettering tweaks or tweaks to a punchline or moving a font around or making fonts bigger because the readership is an older readership and they want to make sure people can understand what the word balloons contain. And
what I'm hearing here is that
it's a lot of
sometimes
that sort of stuff.
What I'm hearing is sometimes you have to carry Carson across the finish line.
No, Carson's brilliant. His writing is great. It's just sometimes you get a room full of people, like a dozen people, right? And a punchline will work for three of them, and two of them will say it's offensive, and one of them doesn't get it, right? So you have to sort of,
My worst
you
nightmare.
have to just, you have to take your ego off and just like, no, this is just a finished product. It's not a representation of me as a person. I mean, the first strip we did for them, I redrew the first strip 4 times. And it was because I knew this is what was going on. He was kind of testing me to see how I would work, what's my workflow like, how quickly can I get things done? Will he push me over the edge? Will I just walk off the project? Like they're going to test you, right? They're an art director. They want to make sure they can push you to a level where, and to know that you're going to take any kind of criticisms that come back well, because some people can't take criticism well. Whereas
Absolutely.
I'm just like, okay, cool, delete, next file, right? Like it's fine. So yeah,
Humor is also really challenging to get right. And on a strip,
humor is super subjective. Yeah,
yeah, on a cartoon strip, you've got maybe 2 or 3 panels, 4 if you're, it's hard to make 4 work.
yeah.
But getting a gag across in such a short space of time, quickly and visually, this is a hurdle that I is a frightening one to me.
Yeah. Speaking of which, like, what is the format of the comic? Like, how many panels is it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
the same? Is it different? What's going on there?
So magazine to magazine, it varies. With Remind, we're typically about 9 panels a page, and that's because
Ooh.
that's about what they want.
Nice.
Cartoons, it's about 12 a page,
Okay.
but then it kind of
You're doing a
flexes
full
and
page of.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, and sometimes we'll get 3 pages, sometimes we'll get 2 pages, sometimes we get 1 page. Like it varies from magazine to magazine and from issue to issue.
Yeah, like in my mind, I
Um,
was thinking like 3 panel strip, but this is a whole different beast.
we've done single panel gags as well, which are really fun, and I also have done a lot of 3 panel gags. I do the Aurora Man, the Adventures of Aurora Man
yeah, right.
newspaper
Yeah,
strip,
okay. Yes.
and
Jeff Burton's signature character.
yeah, yeah, it's fun to work on. It's a fun little wheelhouse to play in, and for me, it was a nice thing to put on the resume for, because I would like to ultimately end up working in syndication somewhere, doing a strip like that. Like that's always been my goal as a kid, was to get into newspaper strips, and it's very hard to do.
Yeah.
But I find, you just sort of, you build that body of work, you build that relationship with editors and with publishers, and word of mouth sort of spreads. That's kind of how we've landed a lot of our work, is just because we show up, we do a good job, we don't, not communicate. Like the worst thing you can do with a publishing partner is not communicate with them, right? Like nobody likes to have dead air when they're expecting a project to be done. You've been given a deadline for a page to be in, and you just don't respond to the email. Like the email's not going away. The editor's not getting any less pissed at you because you haven't responded.
Yeah.
So, you know,
How many magazines or how many different project tabs do you have open in a given week?
that's
Sounds
a
like
good
you've got a
question.
lot going on.
Yeah, we do. We're well in the 5 magazines, so they're on a variety of different publishing schedules. So, Remind magazine is monthly, so that one I have a strip every month to do. Cartoons is bi-monthly, so I have one every 2 months. And usually Carson gets me the scripts for that one fairly early, so I have more time to muddle with them, because I like the thing I've noticed with gags is all the laughter is in the facial expressions. It's in how you sell the action, how you make the characters act. It's not necessarily about the event that's happening. It's usually about the reaction to the event that's happening. So I like to mess with that a lot. I'll take out a sketchbook and I'll mess around with facial expressions all day until I find that one eyebrow line that just works, or the eye that just kind of makes it work, or maybe it's the mouth, that, oh, that shocked look, that kind of like goofy look. And so I like to do that with that strip a lot. And these are characters that we've created for the magazine, so we kind of have carte blanche to just sort of go crazy and have fun with it. Scary Monsters magazine is a quarterly magazine, so it's every 4 months there's another book. And then we do some work for the Bronze Age, which is another quarterly, but it prints on the opposite schedule from Scary Monsters magazine. So,
No
so it's
downtime.
almost like having a bi-monthly magazine in there. And then Cafe Racer is another magazine that's on a monthly schedule as well.
And you're
And then
giving a different
Carson,
strip to each of these?
yeah, different strip, different art style,
Wow.
different feel. Yeah.
You're crazy. That's madness.
Yeah. It is madness, but it's a lot of fun. Cafe Racer I really enjoy working on because it's a motorcycle culture magazine, and they let me draw in almost a Mad Magazine style.
I'd read about towns besieged by vampires and men transformed into hideous beasts by the waxing of the full moon.
How inspiring.
What would you say your big influences are, comic strip wise?
Definitely like if it's comic books, I'd say guys like Jack Kirby, Eric Larson, like the action over, over foreshadowing, things like that.
Yeah.
I loved like John Byrne. I loved his stuff. Art Thurber. Like there's a variety of artists that I love to work on. Mike Mignola. Probably not saying his last name right, but like his work is brilliant.
See, what's interesting is that up till Mignola, all of those characters, what they have in common is super expressive main characters.
Yeah.
And I think.
Yeah, but Mike knows how to frame a shot. Like he knows how to put.
They're all stoic, deadpan looking people, right?
Yeah, he can frame anything.
He can frame a monkey like throwing an apple, and it would look impressive.
So I mean, he's got a lot of great monkey drawings. Hero monkeys.
Yeah, and then otherwise, I think I fell into really the humor gag guys early in life. I loved like Horrible Hagar, Peanuts. I really enjoyed the Beetle Bailey strips for some reason when I was a kid. I thought those were great.
I love Beetle Bailey when I was growing up. Yeah.
And then I found Mad Magazine and it was over. Like Sergio Aragonés, Stan Sackey, like that's where my real education began.
I'll confess that young Gregory didn't quite get Beetle Bailey, but my mom laughed at everyone, so I tried to laugh at it. And then I could not get enough of The Far Side or Calvin and Hobbes, obviously.
Oh, Gary Larson's a genius.
But Gary Larson, and those were the ones my mom would be like, I don't know if I get it, and I'd be like, well, your Beetle Bailey kind of stinks.
See, and I grew up during the Scholastic Book Fair craze. And so I would always get The Far Side in like the omnibus, like the Far Side Gallery 1, the Far Side Gallery 4. Like it was
collected
200 pages of Far Side comics. And so that's where I got my Far Side and Calvin and Hobbes was all collected in like big volumes rather than piecemealed throughout newspapers.
Yeah, I actually, when I was a kid, I used to cut out the strips and I would paste them into little sketchbooks because we didn't have the Scholastic books, right? Like back in the Stone Ages before the internet and stuff, we had to suffer for art,
Yeah, Justin's just a whippersnapper, but you and I seem of similar vintage. I feel your pain. I had a whole bunch of the Calvin Sunday strips pasted into a sketchbook because that was the only way. That was the big color one. Yeah. At least in Winnipeg it was. And it was interesting. Well, maybe you can speak to this. What is, as an adult and as a person making books now, when I think of like an audience and how they consume a large amount of media, and there's not very much upon which they can rely. The newspaper comic strip comes from an era when there was always that thing you knew you'd like in a paper full of bad news, right? There's at least one thing you'll like, so you can find it. What's your relationship with this large readership that is finding your work, but maybe not finding you? And what is that like for you?
It's amazing, the people that do track you down, which can be, good and bad, but it's been pretty interesting so far. I mean, we have, because of the variety of things that I work on, the readership I deal with ranges from 9 to 90, right? Like I do a lot of stuff that, for example, at the Calgary show that, and I'm going back to because that was a show we just, the first show I had in like 2 years. I had a little guy come to my table and he must have been, I'd say like 8 or 9. And he picked up a copy of Cartoons magazine and he started giggling. And so his dad looked at me and he looked down at the table and he grabbed one of each copy, bought all of them, and he took off. And he came back the next day. He was wondering if I had more. And I'm like, I wish I did. You had all the current issues that I had on my table. You got them all. But I gave him a little, subscription card. I said, give this to your dad, tell him to sign you up, and it'll just come right to your doorstep. So, and then he looked at me like, you're lying to me, man. There's no way my magazine's just gonna come to my door. And I'm like, seriously, get your dad to fill this out,
This is the way it used to work.
and it'll just show up.
The mail brings more than just bills. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe-
You'll get something in the mail addressed to you.
So what's your comic convention experience like? Like, do you have stock of everything that you bring out? Do you go there as just a guest? Do you go there just to talk with industry? Like, what's a Comic-Con like for you?
It's kind of a mix. I'm usually there as a guest, and I try to bring as much of everything. It was easier, years ago to just bring everything I was in because I wasn't in as much stuff. But now I'm in so many different things, it's hard to stock everything. Like, I don't even think I own everything I've ever done. And, I'm the guy who did it, right? So, but I do usually have a good variety of things. Like, typically, I try to keep stock coming in because I get, you get sent comped copies of things. And so I put that onto a box and put it aside. I keep one for myself, and then I want to take stuff with me to shows. And I don't have everything usually, but I'll have a good selection of things with me when I go. And I'll do some commissions while I'm at shows and things like that. But I do a lot of like just networking with people. I mean, there's always editors at shows. There's always people that are not on the front of the books that are important to getting the work. So I always look to see who's coming, and I prepare a portfolio that I will hand out in business cards. And so it's kind of a combination of business, and I'm also meeting with fans and having a good time with them, and doing commissions and seeing people I haven't seen in a while, like a lot of the artists and stuff. We're all, what it's like. It's a small community. Everybody sort of knows everybody. And but Calgary was, I think it was just kind of nice to have a show again. Like, I was nervous being there because of all of the stuff that's going on, but we just took precautions. I didn't shake hands. I didn't, I had my mask on the whole time. Everybody had their masks on. We isogelled like maniacs and just hoped for the best, right? So, but everybody made it out there fine, as far as I know. So
more or less. There's been some.
Yeah.
There's been a little bit of fallout from that show that we've been tracking here in
oh no,
sunny Manitoba.
I was
But-
blissfully unaware.
Yeah, it's all right. I guess pays our money, takes our chances. It'll be a while before we on the podcast. We have at Justin's urging simply been calling it the event, and so we hope that it's a past tense event. But it seems it may rear its ugly head again a few times before it's done.
Yeah.
How do you work? Tell me a typical work day. What are your
Sure.
tools
Yeah.
of the trade? What are your go-to processes?
Sure. So it depends on what I'm working on. For Cartoonist magazine, for example, I have people that want to buy the original pages. So
Good.
I'm doing a lot of those on actual paper. And so I'm drawing on really large, I mean, they're, twice up sheets that you would see like Eric Larson's doing right now for Savage Dragon. And they'll shrink down to a proper 8.5 by 11 size for the magazine. And so I'm lettering right on the boards, and I'm using India ink, and I'm using, the rubber cement and X-Actos, and
Wow.
getting my fingers dirty and going to crazy. Usually using a brush for
You're
most of
doing
my
it-
inking.
A brush. Okay, I was going to ask.
Yeah.
And you're doing it twice up.
Hmm.
Now, is that because the collectors of the original pages appreciate that size, or because for reproduction you find you can put in more details?
Reproduction.
Yeah.
For me, I'm old. I don't want to be looking at a teeny tiny page. I want it to be big. So, so I do cartoon stuff. Usually, sometimes it's a mix. If I've fallen behind on other deadlines and I really have to push it, then it's fully digital because you just don't have time. You can't wait for things to dry. You can't wait to erase things. You can't wait to scan things, clean things up, and all of that stuff. But most times, I can do my cartoon strips on paper. So it's kind of a nice feeling. And I like that I have them lettered so you can actually read them. So
Yeah,
People
it's
seem to really
wonderful.
like the idea, yeah, of being able to actually read the text on the page. So
Yeah.
It's part werewolf and vampire, demon and ghost. It will tear your throat open, then drink your blood and feast on your still warm brains.
That's sick.
It's terrifying, but it's going to make a terrific comic book.
So is there much happening like digital painting wise, or it's mostly traditional and then just kind of scanned in?
all of the stuff I do for Remind, Scary Monsters, and Cafe Racer is all digital.
Okay, and it's Cintiq
And
or
yeah, I have a Wacom, 24-inch Wacom,
there you go. Yeah.
and I'm using Clip Studios
Mhm.
because I'm done paying $50 a month to Photoshop.
Yeah.
So I realized that I had purchased Clip Studios,
Oh.
and I had gotten it was on sale, I think, at some point in the past, and I bought it because it was so ridiculously low.
Mhm.
And then I think Adobe raised their ongoing monthly rate,
I just
and in a
got
fit of
my
rage,
email notification of my bill for Adobe. So yeah, I'm leaning more and more.
yeah,
Yeah.
Clip Studios.
The-
So
The problem is,
I
yeah,
abandoned Photoshop.
we use a lot of InDesign, Illustrator, Photoshop, and
Hmm.
like a little bit of Premiere. Like there's too
Yeah,
many.
I was using all of those tools.
Yeah.
But I found I was using some of them less and less because I didn't need to do some of the work in there. Like
right.
Fair.
I'm not I'm not messing with kerning and stuff in my fonts. I'm not playing it like it became more of a why am I paying this much money a month for my Adobe products? So I loaded up Clip Studios, I updated it, I started messing around, and I find it's designed to do manga and comics. And
That's
so
what
I
I've
find it
heard
just
from many
seamlessly
industry
works.
folks. Yeah, they just really
Yeah.
like it.
And I've found a lot of really good brushes that I like, and I can save my templates how I want them. So when I'm working on a Remind strip, I have my template. When I'm working on a Scary Monster strip, I have that template because they're all different sizes and different DPI requirements because one
Mhm.
is black and white, one is color, and so I can mess with all of that stuff without too much hassle, which is really really good. And it saves all my presets, which I really like. And I have it. I mean, this was working for me, so that's where I kind of went. And I'm not paying $50 a month anymore because that was getting a little bit crazy.
Do you work
But yeah, no,
morning?
I like it.
Do you work
Sorry.
mornings, evenings, all day, every day, some days, no days?
So I have a day job. So, and that's just because I want a pension so I can retire at some point.
How are you doing all this
And
with a day job? Holy crap.
yeah, I know. Sleeps for the week. And so I usually work in the evening. So I come home, I'll have supper with the family, hang out with them. I might do some sketching while we're watching TV or whatever before people start going to bed. My wife is a teacher, so she's usually in bed fairly early. My kids are at an age that they don't need me to supervise. My son is 23. My daughter is going to be 13 right away. So like they don't want to hang out with me anyway, right? So they go off to do their own thing. And when everybody sort of splits to do their thing, I end up in the studio. And then I work until I feel like I'm not being productive anymore. Like your limit physically. You go,
Yeah.
well, am I really doing good work right now? No. Time to shut it down. Go to bed. Get up. Do the day job. Come back at it. And then on my weekends, my Saturday, I put in a full studio day. So I get up at 8 o'clock, just like I would on a normal working day. I put in regular 8 hour day. I take a lunch break. I take coffee breaks. If I feel like my brain is wandering, I stop. I stretch. I don't have a chair at my Wycom anymore, so I stand while I work.
Oh wow.
And I'm finding that I get a lot more energy that way, and I'm more
Sure.
mobile, and
Yeah.
a little less sedentary, which is important, right? If you want to be able
Yeah.
to do things for longevity. And so I've been doing that for about 11 years, and it works for me. If I'm too tired, I don't do it. Like if I don't force it. And if I have a deadline coming up, what I usually do is when I'm feeling really energetic or really creative, I go hard, and I will do as much work as I possibly can, while I'm feeling those creative juices going. And I know I'm doing that because I know that at some point I'm going to have a day where I just don't want to turn on the Wycon. you
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you just want a day where you can just decompress. And so it's important to kind of keep that sort of self registry going, and to know I don't want to burn out, and I don't want to miss deadlines. So you have to sort of become aware of how much you can get done in how many hours. So I know I can get a page done, um, black and white, probably 4 to 6 hours. So I know I need at least 4 to 6 hours to knock out. If it's a cartoon strip and I have 3 pages, I know how many hours I need to knock that one strip out. And then I leave myself time at the end where I just let that strip sit for a day or so. And then I go back and look for mistakes and look for corrections and try to add some more ink washes or whatever. And then it's scanned and I send it off to the editors to have their first look at it and then make any adjustments afterwards.
What to you feels like a mistake? What is that? What is that moment where you look at it and you go, oh, okay, gotta fix it?
If the joke doesn't work, you know, if I look at it and I show it to a couple people and nobody smiles, like if nobody even cracks a smile, it's not working. So that's when you
Who
got
is
to
the
say,
first
okay, I need
audience?
to
Is it
redraw this
usually-
panel.
is it
Yeah.
usually your wife that sees it first, or your kids, or
Kids don't have a filter. Kids will tell you if something sucks.
It's so
Like absolutely. Like they don't care to hurt your feelings. I mean, they'll take their claw and rip your heart out and tell you that was brutal. And that's kind of the joy I had working on the Ignited Caveman graphic novel with my daughter was she was my writing buddy. So I sat there, we sat at campfire with a sketchbook and we would just start jotting ideas down and sketching out things. And if she giggled, that gag made it into the book because I'm like, if the kid laughs, it's in. And so that's how I sort of guided that process, and that's how I kind of guide all of the gag strips. If a kid chuckles at it, or if somebody opens, like for example, the You Might Be Friends with Saskatchewan If book, the I never had to have a sales pitch for the book. I would just leave it out there on the table, and people would pick it up and they would flip through it and they would start laughing. And as soon as people start laughing, they want the book. Like it made them laugh. It did the thing you're trying to do. And to me, that's the big success, right? You make somebody smile, you make somebody chuckle, you make somebody laugh. You've done your thing. That's what you need to do. And it's harder and harder to do nowadays.
I was going to ask your relationship with humor as the world
Yeah.
becomes a darker and more dystopian wasteland. I think your work becomes so much more important, but must be harder to do.
I think so. Not really. I think my brain works because of working with Carson. I don't see things in the same way everybody else does. Like, and I know it sounds so weird to say that, but like I find the humor in the really weird stuff sometimes. Like I did a drawing of um, uh, uh, a guy walking down the street and there's a COVID, virus hiding out in the alleyway waiting to jump him. And he's like, "Here's looking forward to it." And yeah, so and that's a morbid strip, but it's funny. you know,
Um,
I think I drew that one um, after the first round of lockdowns because we were getting ready to go do a convention, and I just ordered Ignatius Caveman graphic novels. I ordered a whole stack of them to have at the show, and while they were en route, we went into our first lockdown, and the shows got canceled. Like all the shows got canceled. And I went, well, I'm so glad I just spent all that money on a.
Yeah. I think a lot of people.
yeah, we
felt
were
that,
right
yeah.
there. I canceled 32 appearances or something, right? And
Yeah.
it's one after the other. But we won't dwell on the past. Let's instead go forward. It's 5 years from now.
Yes.
You've been putting in all these evenings, every Saturday, all this time. What is it you want most out of this cartooning life? You wouldn't carve this time away if not. For some
I think the only thing I want is to see kids that grew up reading my stuff passing it on to somebody else.
Oh wow. Yeah, what a great ambition.
Because it's pretty cool to see. I get a little bit of that nowadays, especially with the cartoons magazine. It's got such a huge nostalgia. Like the people that grew up reading it before it went away the first time, and now that it's back, the first thing I usually hear is cartoons is back, and then I go, yes, it is, and I'm literally a cartoonist. I work for them, and they'll turn to their kid who's an adult and be like, I used to read this when I was a kid. You should buy these, and then their son or daughter ends up buying a bunch of cartoons magazines that I'm sure they didn't want to read, and they're taking them home because their dad said they should buy them. And I just think that's kind of cool to see something kind of catching somebody's nostalgia vibe, like looking back. I mean, for example, looking at all the toys behind me, these are all things that came out 40 years ago, and now they're all back again, right? If you go to a Walmart now, you see Masters of the Universe and GI Joe and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and
Yeah, I see a big Jawa tank.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
I want
original.
that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
There is
So it's something great about it.
about knowing that the work is something that someone connected to enough that they want to share it with someone they love.
Yeah.
And understand me a little bit better.
So what's next? What about the others? Looks like the ball's in your court. Or in your case, the pen's in your hand. What about that thing?
When I handed my Calvin and Hobbes collections down to my now oldest son, I just wanted him to like them because I liked them so much at his age. And then we'd know each other a little more.
I did the same thing with my daughter. She's a super interested in Japan and in manga. And I have all of the Usagi Yojimbo collections. And I was like, you must read these. And she just won't do it. It's like, no. I'm like, I know you will love this. It's animals, it's manga, it's Japan. Come on.
You know what? I can tell you that in our house, one of the ways that I don't know if this is maybe a horrible manipulation or an excellent one. One of the things that we always turned a blind eye to with our kids' bedtimes is as long as they were reading, they didn't have to necessarily go to bed when we said. And if they had read everything that they had chosen, the only things left were the things I suggested might be of interest. And then they would come down in the morning and be like, Dad, this is actually pretty good. Do you have more?
Yeah.
Right? So it's just, you just have to figure out a way to slide it in so it seems like their idea.
Yeah, I'll have to try that. I'll have to try that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I know I've experienced a little bit of that too with the Saskatchewan books because we get a lot of fan mail and stuff and a lot of messages on social media from people that have bought the book and sent it somewhere else in the world. And then that person writes back to say how much they enjoyed it and it made them feel homesick for home, which is kind of what the book is there for anyway.
That's what it's about, right?
Yeah. And then still seeing it on store shelves after this long is just wild to me.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's huge. Congratulations. It must be, though, a little bit bittersweet when you look at the artwork 10 years later.
Oh, 100%. If I had known that was going to be like the thing that stuck around for as long as it was going to stick around. But then we only had, I think, 4 months to do 148 strips. And Carson was writing them. He was sending them to me in email batches. So I was literally drawing and inking strips as he was sending me another list of 10, another list of 20, that sort of thing. I've never worked that crazy a pace ever, and I hope I never have to again because it was insane.
Well, now that you see the corollary of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That suffrage meant it reached a large number of people. Right?
It did, yeah.
Do you wonder if you should suffer more for the next one then?
We have 3 books coming out.
Oh, you're suffering enough then. You're suffering enough.
Yeah, I'm good to go.
So what's coming down the pipeline for you?
Well, we have a book coming out called Hey Buddy, Do You Want to Buy an Eyeball? And it's more of a graphic design gig for me than it was, like anything else. And it's about all the weird stuff you used to be able to mail order from mail order catalogs.
Oh, I love it.
And that'll be out.
Graphic novel is called The Eye Collector. We should figure out a way in Saskatchewan to do a group launch, right? We should figure out some way
do it.
To do those.
It's got an eye in it.
Right? Because ours is like super dark, really horrific horror book. Side by side with the humor one, I think that would be fantastic.
It could work.
In my next book, all the bad guys only have one eye. They're all cyclopses. So,
we could have a whole eye theme. It'd be fantastic.
I know a guy that used to make a living fighting Cyclopses, so
Yeah.
the old Jason New York City guy.
Yeah.
Jason, tell me a little as we round out the hour here. Tell
Mhm.
me a little bit about what it feels like to be a guy who quit drawing all those years ago and
Right.
now is drawing nonstop.
Yeah, it sounds like it's taken over.
It feels amazing. Like it's something I wish I would have done earlier. You know, yeah, I really do. I wish I would have done it like 5 years earlier, just because I'd be younger and have more energy to put more into it. I mean, not that I'm tired and old and can't function. It's just I look at I have some ideas coming up that I've got written out because I also write stuff. I don't just draw. And so I have like a whole graphic novel already written, thumbnailed, ready to go. That's just sitting kind of on the shelf, waiting for me to have time to get to it. And if I had started 5 years earlier, that story would probably be already done and be out. So
Yeah, gotta do a
there's
little
just
something.
things like that. Um, yeah, I just wish I would have listened to my instincts a little more earlier, you know.
So
But I
say we
definitely don't
all.
regret it. Yeah,
I
I
noticed
don't
on your,
regret it.
sorry to talk over you there. I noticed on your
No worries.
social media a picture of like, it seemed like a dozen sheets of paper. I think they looked like comic boards all together on a wall. And the only like caption was like, this is either a good idea or a bad idea. I'm not sure yet, kind of tone. What is that?
So
Tell me what's going on.
so with Jason in New York City, because it's my own thing, I've gotten into this desire to push myself as an artist to try really stupid ideas. And so the issue that I'm currently working on is issue 4 for the new series. And in that issue, Jason is chasing after a minotaur in the New York City subway system. And so my brain said, hey, wouldn't it be cool if you could somehow visually turn your pages into a maze? I don't know if it's going to be successful or a giant flop, but I dove in with both feet. I taped 16 pages to my wall and I did the rough breakdowns, and now I'm actually doing the pencils on it and some of the inking and stuff.
So they all interlock as one giant image that then will be reassembled to be
split up, yeah, to be in the book.
It's a good way to
And
get people
so,
to destroy books.
Yeah, that's great.
Yes.
well, then they got to buy more copies, right?
Yeah.
So, so it's either going to be a horrible disaster or it's going to be brilliant, and I'm not sure which.
A Winnipeg creator here, Scott A. Ford, made a book called Giant's Well, which is this huge. It's a
I've
single.
heard about this.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
single illustration. That's like how many pages?
40 pages?
40 pages.
Or no, is it 40 feet when it's all?
Yeah, it's like 40 or 50 feet
Right.
of the book, and they're all accordioned, right? And you fall through the giant's well on the way through the story. So,
That's brilliant.
You're in a good space of experimentation, I think, and a giant's well.
We'll see if I can pull it off.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing that.
You should see what I've got planned for the big issue at the end. I'm planning to do one gigantic long panned shot throughout the entire issue, where the entire story takes place within that giant panned shot.
On one pan. Ooh, that's good. Mobius kind of tackled that landscape a little bit once in a while, but never a whole issue. It'd be like 3 or 4 pages in a row.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. It's still in the early planning stages. We'll see how it goes. Like my brain sometimes comes up with stuff and then I have to push to try to do it. So,
yeah,
which is always fun. But I'm finding with the Jason New York City stuff, the freedom to just not have to do things the way anybody else wants it is sort of nice, like I'm not working with another writer. I don't have an editor. It's just me just goofing around and having a good time at it. And I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. So hopefully people will dig it when it's all done and ready for release. So, but I'm planning on doing all 12 issues together first before I release the first one, because I know my schedule is just too crazy. I can't launch a monthly comic book while I'm also doing 5 magazines and random books here and there. So
And a
I
full-time job, and being a dad, and being a husband, and
yeah,
yes.
and being married. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got to juggle things somehow.
Yeah, for sure. Jay,
Yeah.
I'm sad it took us this long to connect in a real way, because I found this conversation to be very enlightening, and really, honestly, I had no idea that so much of this like syndication world was happening here in Canada, and that I met
It's
the people involved without even realizing it.
yeah. It's amazing how much work is out there that people aren't aware is out there. Like Carson and I didn't intend to end up in magazine work. It's just that's where the work is, right? We just sort of fell into it. And then we're just too stupid to stop, right? Like we just keep plodding forward. And then he keeps pitching things and people keep accepting us, and we don't know when to stop. It's really a sickness.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
Well, Jason, I hope you never stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This has been Super Pulp Science, where we talk about how genre gets made. I'm Gregory Kmichuk, encouraging you all to join the fight and make comics.